Thanks for buying my wife a better watch than I did.
Wait a minute.
No, you wait a minute. What are you trying to say? That I can't afford to buy my wife nice things?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of All Things Girl World. Today we're diving into Season 2, Episode 11 of Girlfriends and asking a question that doesn't get talked about enough. Did Maya get to skate on being a bad friend because everyone was hyper-focused on the dynamic between Joan and Toni? Let's talk about it. It's Christmas time and the girls are at Joan's house decorating for the holidays. For a group this close, moments like this are just part of their routine. But what starts as holiday cheer quickly turns into one of the most overlooked situations in Season 2. As William plays Santa and asks Maya what she wants for Christmas, she says she not only wants her husband Darnell to like her friends, mostly Joan, but she also wants a watch. Now, I'll get into what I think the real issue is with Darnell's dislike for Joan a little later, but like all of us, Joan asks why Darnell still doesn't like her, especially after they supposedly put their differences aside, following her telling Maya that Darnell may have been cheating. Maya claims it's because Darnell doesn't know Joan on a personal level, which I think is BS, but I digress, at least for now. Before I bring Stan into the picture, I have to call out Maya's hypocrisy when it comes to infidelity. We saw several instances where Maya condemned her friends at even the thought, rumor, or act of breaking up engagements, interfering in marriages, or openly admitting to being okay with sleeping with married men. All of which are obviously terrible things, but you can't run your campaign on being against those behaviors, and then when you hit emotional bumps in your own marriage, suddenly it's okay to step outside of it to entertain Stan. And I specifically remember Maya telling Joan that she needs this right now, which is very hypocritical of Maya. So enter Stan, who works in the same building as Joan and Maya. Maya has been confiding in this man about her marriage and her lack of support from Darnell regarding certain aspirations she has, which has obviously brought her and Stan closer. This leads to Maya and Stan having lunch together where they exchange Christmas gifts. Stan gives Maya a $1,500 watch, which I wholeheartedly believe she should not have accepted, not even because of the price, but because she should not have been exchanging Christmas gifts with a man Darnell doesn't know about, especially given the nature of her connection with Stan. But what Maya also didn't know is that while she was out cheating with Stan, Darnell was having a similar conversation with Joan. Darnell stops by the office looking for Maya. Joan has been covering for her, but has also been very vocal about wanting Maya to end things with Stan, even telling her she wouldn't keep covering for her, which technically she still ends up doing, but we'll get to that later. You can tell Joan really wants Darnell to like her because, as we all know, Joan is a people pleaser, so when Darnell asks Joan for recommendations for watches, Joan jumps at the opportunity. Now, I think it's important to mention that Joan is a very well-to-do woman. She has money, she's Maya's boss and friend, and over time she has introduced Maya to a lifestyle as well as a network of friends and colleagues that Maya didn't have prior to forming a close relationship with someone like Joan. This will matter later when I discuss what I believe Darnell's real issue is with Joan. Like many people would, after finding out about the watch, Joan suspected Maya of sleeping with Stan because in her mind, why else would he be gifting you a $1,500 watch? She told Maya she needed to give it back and Maya said she would, but not before things would soon blow up. On the wrong person. At the company Christmas party, Joan notices that Maya is still sporting the watch she was supposed to give back to Stan. After talking to Stan, he tells Maya she should keep it, that there's no strings attached, and it's just a thank you gift for being his friend and helping him get the job. I think Maya should have made it clear to Stan that her having this watch was inappropriate for a married woman. Again, it's not because of the price, but because it's simply not respectful to her husband to be wearing a watch that's probably more expensive than anything he could realistically give her. Let's not forget that Darnell told Joan he was only looking to spend about $100 on Maya's watch, and here she is wearing a $1,500 watch from her work husband. This is exactly what Maya gets because Darnell surprises her by showing up to the company holiday party. He notices the watch on her wrist and is clearly familiar with the brand and how expensive it is. Maya gets all tongue-tied when he asks her where she got it, and instead of telling the truth, she completely throws Joan under the bus by claiming Joan brought it for her. Of course, this immediately sets Darnell off, especially since he had gone to Joan for recommendations on a watch for Maya. So for it to appear that Joan then went behind his back and brought Maya this expensive watch when he was only planning to spend about $100 would understandably look foul. However, that's not what happened. And what Darnell says to Joan in that moment really reveals how he actually feels about her. None of it truly has anything to do with the idea that she brought this watch. It just exposes feelings he clearly already had. Maya claims that Darnell doesn't like Joan simply because he doesn't know her personally, yet he calls her out of her name, calls her bougie, bitter, and says she can't get a man. Does that sound like someone who just doesn't know her, or does it sound like Maya has been bad-mouthing Joan to him, or is it just me? Regardless, Maya just stood there and watched Darnell berate her friend based on a lie, all to save her own ass. Joan did not deserve that, and after that, I'm sorry, Maya also doesn't deserve to have Joan as a friend. But let me tell you what I think the real issue is with Darnell's feelings towards Joan. During his meltdown, he said something to the effect of, "Are you saying I can't buy my wife nice things and that I'm not about anything?" Joan never said that. In my opinion, Darnell even implying that suggests he may have some insecurities within himself about what he can't do for his wife and the life he feels he cannot provide for her. As I mentioned earlier, Joan is a successful woman, and that's no secret. Maya herself has taken shots at Joan before, calling her high sedity, bougie, and so on. So I don't doubt that conversations about Joan's lifestyle have taken place between Maya and Darnell behind the scenes. However, there's a psychological layer at play with men like Darnell when their partner is closely connected to a woman like Joan. Joan represents complete autonomy. She's financially secure, emotionally independent, socially connected, and makes decisions without ever having to answer to anyone. She also exposes her friends to a lifestyle that includes higher standards, broader opportunities, and the idea that they can want more for themselves. For someone who isn't fully confident in the stability or adequacy of the life he's providing, that kind of influence can feel less like inspiration and more like a threat. Not because Joan is doing anything wrong, but because her presence quietly introduces comparison, possibility, and the fear that Maya may eventually outgrow the version of the life they've built together. After all, she had been with Darnell since she was a teenager, so the tension isn't really about Joan as a person, it's about what she represents. Maya then had the nerve to not only think she was just going to walk off once Darnell cursed Joan out, but then asked Joan why she didn't tell her Darnell was planning on buying her a watch. I'm glad Joan put her foot down when she told Maya not to dare throw this back on her, because Joan could have very easily told Darnell that Stan gave Maya the watch and not her. This episode kind of pulls the veil back on how Maya managed to avoid being labeled a bad friend, because what she did here to Joan was so wrong. I also have to say, I never really liked how Maya allowed Darnell to speak to Joan overall throughout the series, but when you really think about it, he's essentially talking to Joan the same way he talks to Maya, which I'm not fond of either. If Maya isn't going to correct how he speaks to her, she certainly isn't going to stand up for Joan. After all of this, Darnell tells Maya that she needs to end her relationship with the girls, essentially because he feels like they're a bad influence. So Joan, being Joan, after she says she wouldn't keep covering for Maya, shows up at their home on Christmas with a computer. She tells Darnell the computer is from Maya, explaining that she won a $3,000 scratch-off ticket, hid the computer at her house, and used the rest of the money to buy herself a watch, but told him the watch was from Joan so he wouldn't get suspicious. Darnell does apologize to Joan, and Maya thanks her, claiming she was so miserable at the thought of them not being friends anymore. After Joan encourages Maya one final time that it's really time to end things with Stan, she calls herself agreeing. But do you know that this girl actually stepped outside to call Stan to wish him a Merry Christmas? It doesn't get any more audacious than that. So what do we take away from all of this? In my opinion, Maya got to skate on being a bad friend because the spotlight was elsewhere, but her actions in this episode and in many other episodes speak for themselves. She lied, she was a hypocrite, she threw Joan under the bus and continued sneaking around with Stan, all while letting Darnell berate Joan in front of everyone due to a mess that she caused. And I like Maya, but that is not friendship, that is selfishness. At the end of the day, this episode is a perfect example of why we can't ignore Maya's actions just because the drama between Joan and Toni gets more attention. Friendship isn't just about having fun or bonding over shared experiences. It's all about accountability, respect, and trust. And in season 2, episode 11, Maya failed on all 3 of those. So tell me in the comments, would you call Maya a bad friend after this episode? Do you think there's another underlying issue that Darnell has with Joan? And how would you have handled this situation if you were Joan? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. As always, thank you so much for your support, and I will talk to you all in the next video.